My name is Princess Carla Al-Mansour, and what I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but I'm telling you this story because someone out there needs to hear it. Someone is going through something similar right now, feeling alone, feeling like they're going crazy. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. This happened 3 years ago, but I remember every detail like it was yesterday. Some memories fade with time. This one only gets clearer. Let me start by explaining who I am. I'm not just using princess as a nickname. I'm actual royalty from a powerful Saudi family with connections that reach into every corner of the Middle East. We have money. We have influence. We have a name that opens doors. Growing up, I had everything. Private jets, designer clothes, the best education money could buy. I studied at Oxford, spent summers in Paris, winters in Switzerland. I was groomed from birth to be perfect, polished, untouchable. But here's what they don't tell you about that kind of life. It's lonely, incredibly, suffocatingly lonely. You're surrounded by people all the time, but you never know who actually cares about you versus who just wants access to your family's power and money. I dealt with it the way a lot of rich, lonely people do. Parties, shopping, travel. Anything to fill the emptiness inside. My family didn't mind. As long as I looked good in photos and didn't cause scandals, they left me alone. But 3 years ago, something changed. I met someone who saw through all of that. Her name was Emma, and she was my yoga instructor in London. She never treated me like a princess. She treated me like a person. A broken, searching, lost person who desperately needed something real. We'd talk after classes, and she'd tell me about her faith, about Jesus, about how he'd changed her life, pulled her out of addiction and depression, and given her purpose. I was fascinated and skeptical in equal measure. I'd grown up with religion, of course. Formal, ritualistic, rule-based religion. But Emma talked about Jesus like he was a person, like he was real, like he actually cared about individual human beings. It's not about rules, she'd say. It's about relationship. It's about knowing you're loved, not because you're perfect, but just because you exist. I started reading the Bible she gave me, started asking questions, started wondering if maybe this emptiness I felt could actually be filled with something real. My family noticed the change. I stopped partying as much, started declining invitations to events that felt meaningless, started asking uncomfortable questions about our family's business dealings. That's when things got weird. My uncle Rashid, who'd always been warm to me, suddenly turned cold. He'd look at me with disgust, fear, anger. He started making comments about Western influence corrupting our family, about the importance of tradition. Then my Aunt Samira started visiting more often. She'd show up at my apartment in London unannounced, bringing gifts, expensive jewelry, beautiful scarves, designer perfumes. But something about these gifts felt wrong. They'd give me headaches. I'd have nightmares when they were in my apartment. Once I woke up at 3 a.m. to find the necklace she'd given me glowing faintly in the dark. Glowing, like it had its own internal light source. I threw it away, all of it. Everything she'd given me went straight into the trash. The next day, Samira called, furious. How dare I discard family heirlooms? But here's what made my blood run cold. I never told her I'd thrown anything away. So how did she know? Emma told me I should pray about it. Ask Jesus for protection. So I did. And that's when things escalated from weird to terrifying. I started seeing shadows in my apartment. Not normal shadows. These moved wrong, against the light instead of with it. I'd catch glimpses in my peripheral vision, shapes that looked almost human but not quite. Too tall, too thin, moving in ways human bodies shouldn't move. I thought I was losing my mind. I scheduled appointments with therapists, started taking sleeping pills. But the pills didn't help. The shadows didn't care if I was awake or asleep. Then I got the letter. A formal invitation to come home for a family gathering. my grandmother's 80th birthday celebration. Attendance was mandatory. I didn't want to go. Every instinct screamed at me to stay away. But they were my family, and despite everything, I still loved them. Emma offered to come with me. "You shouldn't go alone," she said. "Let me come. I'll stay nearby. I'll pray." I almost said yes. Almost. But pride stopped me. I was Princess Carla Almansor. I didn't need backup. That was my first mistake. I flew home 2 weeks before the party. The palace looked the same as always. Beautiful, opulent, pristine. But something felt off. The staff wouldn't meet my eyes. The guards seemed nervous. The air itself felt heavy, like breathing through wet cloth. My grandmother greeted me warmly. She hugged me, kissed both my cheeks. But her eyes were sad. Deeply, profoundly sad. Like she knew something I didn't. "Be careful, my darling," she whispered in my ear. "Be very, very careful. And if things get bad, remember what your friend taught you. Remember the name. It has power here, more power than you know." Before I could ask what she meant, Uncle Rashid appeared and pulled her away. They had a whispered argument. I caught fragments. Too late. Already decided. Necessary sacrifice. That night, I couldn't sleep. The shadows in my room were worse than ever. They weren't just at the edges anymore. They were gathering, taking form. I could see faces in them, watching me, hungry. I grabbed my phone to call Emma, but there was no signal, no Wi-Fi. I was cut off from the outside world, isolated, trapped. I started praying, out loud, just talking to Jesus like Emma had taught me, telling him I was scared, asking for help. And the shadows recoiled. They didn't disappear, but they pulled back, like they'd been burned. That's when I knew. This wasn't in my head. This was real, supernatural, evil, and it was targeting me specifically. The next morning, I confronted my grandmother, found her in the garden, feeding the birds. She looked exhausted, worn down. "Grandmother, what's happening? What's going on in this house?" She didn't pretend not to understand. "Your Uncle Rashid has been dabbling in old practices, ancient rituals that our family abandoned generations ago because they're dangerous. He convinced others to join him, promised them power, influence, control. But that's impossible. That's just superstition. Is it?" She looked at me with those knowing eyes. "You've seen the shadows, haven't you? Deep down, you know something is very wrong here." I nodded slowly. "What do they want?" "Power requires sacrifice. Old power requires old sacrifice. Blood sacrifice. Family blood, specifically. They need someone with pure bloodline, but contaminated spirituality. Someone who's strayed from the path. Someone who's been exposed to other influences." My blood ran cold. "They're talking about me." "Yes. But I'm your granddaughter. I'm family. They can't just... Love doesn't matter when people want power badly enough. They've convinced themselves this is for the greater good, that your sacrifice will elevate the entire family. They've stopped seeing you as a person, Carla. They see you as fuel." I felt sick. "How many people are involved?" 15 family members. Your Uncle Rashid is leading it. Your Aunt Samira. Your cousins Khalid, Nadia, Fatima. People you grew up with. People you trusted. The ritual is planned for tomorrow night, during the birthday celebration. So I'll leave. I'll get out right now. They've marked you already. The gifts Samira gave you weren't just gifts. They were marking tools. You've been tagged, Carla. The entity they're summoning has your spiritual signature now. Distance won't save you. Once the ritual begins, it will pull you back no matter where you are. I sank onto the bench beside her. So I'm going to die. Not if you fight. Not if you call on the right help. Your friend Emma, she taught you about Jesus, yes? Yes, but I'm not sure I fully believe. I still have doubts and questions. Doubt doesn't matter. Faith isn't about certainty. It's about trust, about calling out when you're drowning even if you're not sure anyone can hear you. That's all he asks. Just call, and he'll answer. She took my hand. I've been praying for you since you were born, Carla. Praying that you'd be different, that you'd break the cycle of pride that's corrupted this family. I think you're here for exactly this moment, to prove that light is stronger than darkness. But I don't know how to fight this. You'll know when the time comes. Trust your instincts, and when they come for you, because they will come. You use the name. You call on Jesus with everything you have, and you don't stop calling until the darkness breaks. She kissed my forehead. I love you, my darling girl. Remember that you're never alone. Never. Even in the darkest moment, he's there, waiting for you to call. The next day passed in a blur. The birthday celebration was elaborate. Hundreds of guests, music, dancing, endless food. I smiled and made small talk while my insides churned with terror. I watched Uncle Rashid across the room. He was charming, laughing, playing the perfect host. But every so often his eyes would find me. And I saw the truth. He wasn't looking at me like a niece. He was looking at me like prey. At 11 o'clock, some people started slipping away. My Aunt Samira, my cousin Khalid. One by one, 15 family members quietly excused themselves. I knew where they were going. I knew what they were preparing. At 11:45, my cousin Nadia appeared at my elbow. Carla, grandmother wants to see you. She's not feeling well. She's in the East Wing. The East Wing, where the ritual would take place. I could have run, could have screamed, but something stopped me. Some deep knowledge that running wouldn't work. That I had to face this. I'll be right there, I told Nadia. I went to my room first, got on my knees, and I prayed like I'd never prayed before. Jesus, I don't know if you're real. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if I have enough faith. But my grandmother said you answer when people call. Emma said you love me. So I'm calling. Please. Please don't let me die tonight. Please don't let the darkness win. Not because I deserve saving, but because I want to live. Because I want to know you. Please help me. Nothing happened. No voice, no sign. Just silence. I walked to the East Wing at midnight. The corridor was longer than I remembered. The walls seemed to pulse. The temperature dropped with every step. My breath came out in white clouds. At the end of the hall, I saw the door. It was open. Red light spilled from inside. And I heard chanting. Multiple voices speaking in unison. Words in a language that made my teeth ache. I stepped through the door. The room was circular. Candles everywhere. The walls were covered in symbols. In the center, drawn in blood, was a circle. And standing around that circle, dressed in black robes, were my family members. All 15 of them. Uncle Rashid lowered his hood when he saw me, smiled. There she is. Right on time. Thank you for coming, Carla. You're my uncle. You changed my diapers. You taught me to ride a bike. How can you do this? Because power requires sacrifice. Because you've been corrupted by Western lies. Consider this an honor, Carla. Your death will fuel something magnificent. The chanting grew louder. The air grew thicker. And from the center of that blood circle, something started to emerge. It came up through the floor like oil. Black. Viscous. But also smoke-like. It had eyes. Too many eyes. And mouths. Too many mouths. The thing spoke. The sacrifice is acceptable. Bring her forward." My cousins moved toward me. Their eyes were glazed. They weren't fully in control anymore. They grabbed my arms, started dragging me toward the circle. I fought, but they were too strong. They forced me to my knees at the edge of the circle. Uncle Rashid raised a curved dagger. "Any last words, niece?" I looked up at him, at this man I'd loved, and I saw nothing in his eyes. No love, no regret, just hunger. "Yes," I said. "I have 3 words." I took a deep breath. I thought about Emma, about my grandmother, about all the prayers they'd prayed for me. And I called out, "Jesus, save me!" The room exploded with light, not fire. Light. Pure, brilliant, golden light that poured into that room like a flood. The darkness thing in the circle screamed. It was the most horrible sound I'd ever heard. Like metal tearing. Like every evil thing crying out in agony. And then he was there. Jesus stood between me and the circle, tall, radiant, with eyes that held both infinite compassion and absolute authority. "Release her," he said. His voice was gentle but absolute. Uncle Rashid fell to his knees. The dagger clattered from his hand. "You have no authority here. We summoned our own power. You summoned a liar and a thief, a parasite that feeds on pride and fear. You thought you were gaining servants, but you were always the prey." Jesus looked at the thing in the circle. "You were not invited through covenant. You were summoned through deception. That voids any claim. You're going back." "No!" The thing tried to grow, tried to expand. But the light was relentless. "We have hosts. We have agreements. You have nothing. These people thought they could command you. But no one commands darkness. You can only serve it or be consumed by it." He raised his hand. "In my name, I break every agreement made here. I sever every bond. I close every door. And I send you back where you belong." The light intensified. I had to close my eyes. I heard screaming. The thing, my family members as it was torn from them, reality itself bending. When I opened my eyes, the darkness was gone. The candles had blown out. The symbols on the walls were charred. And my family members lay scattered around the room, unconscious, but breathing. Jesus turned to me, helped me to my feet. His hand was warm, real, solid. "Are you really here?" I whispered. He smiled. "I've always been here, Carla. You just finally called. That's all I've ever wanted. Just call. Just reach out." But I doubted. I questioned. Doubt doesn't disqualify you. Peter walked on water, then doubted and started to sink. But you know what he did? He cried out, "Lord, save me." 3 words, and I reached out immediately. Not after he proved his faith. Immediately. He touched my face gently. "That's all faith is, Carla. Calling out when you're drowning. You did that tonight." And I answered. "What happens now to them?" I gestured at my family. They made choices. They opened doors. Now they face consequences. Some will recover. Some won't. But your burden is to tell this story. To warn others. To show people that no matter how deep the darkness gets, there's always light stronger than it. Always someone listening when they call. I don't know how. You're exactly what you need to be. A broken person who called for help and received it. That's the most powerful testimony there is. Tell people that Jesus is real. That he answers. That he saves. Even princesses who doubted. Even people who thought they weren't good enough. He started to fade. The light began to dim. "Wait. I have so many questions. We'll have time. But right now, you need to live. And Carla, thank you for calling. That's all I've ever wanted." Then he was gone. I stood in that dark room and started laughing. Not funny laughter. The kind that comes when you've survived something impossible, when your entire understanding of reality has been shattered and rebuilt. I called the police, called an ambulance, told them there'd been some kind of mass poisoning. My uncle Rashid survived. So did most of the others, but they were changed, broken. Rashid spent 2 years in a psychiatric facility. Some of them found Jesus after that night. Some didn't. Some tried to pretend it never happened. Everyone dealt with the trauma differently. My grandmother died peacefully 3 weeks later. At her funeral, I found a letter. I knew he would answer. Now go tell everyone. Love, grandmother. So that's what I do now. I tell this story to anyone who will listen. I tell people what happened to Princess Carla Al-Mansour the night her family tried to sacrifice her, and Jesus showed up instead. I'm not perfect. I still have doubts sometimes. I still struggle with faith and certainty. But I know one thing absolutely. When I called out, "Jesus, save me," someone answered. Someone broke through impossible darkness. And that changes everything. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, if your family is involved in dark things, if you're seeing things you can't explain, if darkness is closing in, you can call out too. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be desperate enough to cry for help. 3 words. That's all it takes. Jesus, save me. He answered for Peter. He answered for me. And he'll answer for you too. That's my story. That's my testimony. My name is Princess Carla Al-Mansour. And the night my family summoned darkness against me, Jesus rose up to defend me. Not because I deserved it, but because I called. And he promised he would answer. He kept that promise. And he'll keep it for you too. Call out. Don't let pride or doubt or fear stop you. He's listening. He's always been listening, just waiting for you to call his name.